welcome to my channel, Plant-Based Storm. I'm Stormy, and this is my husband,
Blake.
He has agreed to show us a pickle recipe that he's come up with. He has to eat a low sodium diet, so finding pickles that he can have is super hard. Plus, I know that a lot of people that are plant-based avoid sodium anyway, or salt. They limit how much salt they take in. So this is a perfect recipe to put on here. So if you're interested in learning how to create some pickles, then stick around and we'll show you how he does it. Or actually, he'll show you how he does it. I'm just going to help today.
Okay, we just got everything washed, and Stormy is going to help me cut some things up. We're going to take the cucumbers and we're going to cut the blossom end off and the stem end off. And then we're going to quarter the cucumbers. And then we'll cut up our jalapenos, our cow horns, and we will take the tops off of the okra. And then we will peel the garlic and crush them just slightly so that the vinegar can get in there and really release the flavors. I've got some hot pepper flakes. This is arbol, ghost pepper, habanero, and can't remember the other one. Anyway, it's a blend of 4 hot peppers. And then I've got some peppercorns. And those 2 will go in the okra and the 1 jar of spicy pickles that I'm doing. The rest will just be plain garlic dill pickles. Now the reason I cut the blossom end off of cucumbers is because it can actually release a chemical into the cucumber and it will make them soft once you start pickling them. And you don't want a mushy pickle. Nobody likes a mushy pickle.
Like mashed like that.
Yeah, just just barely smashed is all you want. The garlic. Okay, so we have just the tops of the okra cut off. Not enough to where, there's a hole in it. It's just the stem part. Got the ends of the cucumbers cut off. Got the tops of the peppers cut off. So we're going to quarter everything real quick except for the okra. I'm going to slice the cow horns just because it makes them easier to get in the jar. The smaller cucumbers, I picked them purposely just because I like the small cucumbers because they have a real firm crunch to them. Of course, the bigger the cucumber, the softer it's going to be no matter what you do to it. And you also want to use these as soon as you can when you pick them. So don't wait 2 or 3 days before you make pickles out of them. Try to use them the same day, pickle them the same day. That's going to give you the best crunch.
These are our Chicago pickling cucumbers.
Chicago pickling.
These came from Baker Creek.
Yeah.
So these are a little bit bigger than what we've been quartering, so I'm probably going to actually cut this into thirds or something.
Now with these cow horns, I've found that the closer you get to the stem end, the hotter they get. I want some really spicy okra and pickles, so that's the best part to use in my opinion. And I leave the seeds in there. Once you get down to this part of the pepper where there's no seeds, it doesn't really do much because there's really not a lot of heat in it. With the jars, all I did was just wash the jars in good hot soapy water and I let them dry. I did the same thing with the lid. You can sterilize these in boiling water, but because our vinegar solution that we're using is so acidic, there's really not a need to actually sanitize it. But if it makes you feel better, you can. What you would do is just put the lids in the jars, opened like this, into a pot of boiling water for about 10 minutes. And then take them out, leave them upside down to dry until you get ready to use them. And I like to put at least 2 cloves of garlic per jar. And then I'm just going to start throwing my okra in, along with some of the peppers. I'll drop some of the peppercorns down in there. And some of the hot pepper flakes. Put in there. And
You have enough to do 3 in each jar if you want.
okay. Somebody said I had enough to do 3 things of garlic in each jar, so I'm going to drop another one down in there. And our okra is just now really starting to produce, so I don't really have a whole lot of okra. So that's why I'm making the spicy okra, just to fill the jars up, so I'm not wasting a lot of vinegar. So now I'm just stuffing peppers in there to fill the rest of the jar up. And these are going to be some good hot okra.
Because after you eat the okra out of these jars, you can still use the peppers and stuff in here like you would pepper sauce for greens, or you can take the peppers out and cut them up and eat, or just pull them out and eat them too.
Eat them on nachos or whatever you would do with a jar of like pickled jalapenos that you buy at the grocery store, and they're really good. All right, so I've got that one packed. I do have a little bit of head space in there that didn't get filled up, but that'll be okay for now. All right, now with the pickles, I'm gonna go ahead and Stormy's already got the garlic in all of them. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a couple jalapeno slices in here, and a couple of these cow horns, and now I'm gonna start stuffing the cucumbers. Now, one thing that I do add to these that I have not mentioned yet is the Pickle Crisp, and that is calcium chloride that you put in here to keep the pickles crispy. And you can get this at your local Walmart or Tractor Supply Company or Amazon, which is where I found it at.
We can add a link to Amazon if you want.
And it's just the calcium chloride crystals. For a pint jar, it takes a rounded 1/8 of a teaspoon. For a quart jar, it takes a 1/4 of a teaspoon. One of the most important things for this recipe is the dill. We definitely want dill pickles, so we're gonna add
We
this.
usually use our own, and we have been up until this point, but it's
Currently ran out
because we've been using it so much.
and have to grow some more. We just stuff that down in there. You want it good and dilly. And there's nothing pretty about doing this. Stuff it in there. In there. Alright, so now we've got a jar of cucumbers and dill and garlic. Alright, I just cut that off because it came up too high. You want your pickles to come up about no further than this, whatever you're putting in your jar, because you need some headspace in here for expansion and for your liquid to cover everything. So we can come back and add this little piece later. And while I'm putting cucumbers in, I will stuff dill in as well, and just layer everything up best you can. Make sure you get everything in there good and tight.
And these are pint-sized jars, right?
Yeah, these are pint-sized jars. I'm gonna take one more sprig of dill and try to get it stuffed in there.
And again, like, you don't have to grow these. You can come across a good deal at the farmer's market, or they may have some small pickling cucumbers that you really want to buy at the store and do this. There's a million reasons why you might want to make your own pickles. For him, he can't have the sodium, so these are a salt-free recipe that is really, really good.
Yeah. Also, like I said a while ago with the pickles, you want to try to use them as soon as you can. So if you do find some at the farmer's market, make sure that you use them up really quick, because the longer these stay off the vine, the softer they get and the less crispy they get. Now, with that being said, with the Pickle Crisp, the calcium chloride, you can't make anything crispier than what it is currently. So all it does is keep it from getting any softer than what it currently is. So if it's good and crunchy now, it'll be good and crunchy in the jar. If you add the Pickle Crisp. If you don't add the Pickle Crisp, with the water bath, they will get really soft. I'm talking about mushy soft. So make sure that you add the pickle crisp to them, and especially if you're using an older cucumber. So now here is one very important step. Make sure you go ahead and get this pot of water to boil. Also make sure you have something to put in the bottom of the water bath to keep the jar from touching the bottom of the pot, because it can create hot spots and it can actually overcook or bust your bottles, your jars. So what I do is I just drop this down in there and I set my jars on it so that it's not coming in direct contact with the bottom of the pot. A pint jar is equal to 2 cups, but we have filled each pint with our veggies. So we're going to pour straight 5% acid vinegar, about 3 to 3.5 cups, into the pot, and that should be enough vinegar for all 4 jars. And we'll just bring this to a rolling boil. And let me turn that on. And once that starts to boil, we'll just pour it over our jars and that'll be ready to go. Okay, the vinegar has just come to a boil, and as soon as it starts boiling you want to take it off, because vinegar is very volatile, and with heat it will lose its acidity. So we want to try to get it in the jars as quick as possible. Now also notice that our water here is just starting to bubble, which is good, because we don't want a big temperature shock between the jars and it going into the water bath, because it can shock the jars and crack them. So just kind of time it to where you can get the jars in there just as soon as this kind of starts to boil, so that there's not much of a temperature shock. Now we're just going to pour this over our jars, and as soon as that vinegar hits that calcium chloride, it just melts away. And you can even hear it fizz a little bit, and that's just the calcium chloride doing its thing. It gets in there and soaks into those cucumbers and the vegetables, keep everything good and crisp. Oh, and another thing I should mention, make sure that the rims of your jars are clean, otherwise these jars will not seal and you have to start all over again. And make sure you leave a quarter of head space in the jars for the expansion of the contents when you're water bathing it. What you do is just finger tighten these lids. All you're doing is basically using this ring to help keep this lid in place so that the air can escape from the jars while you're water bathing it. Now, because this is going to be a little bit cooler when I go to water bath it, which is no problem, what I'll do is I'll end up having to pour the water out of that boiler and start it over again with a cooler temperature, and then gradually bring it up so that I don't bust this jar. Now, if you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one. It's for canning. So we're just going to take our jars, drop them down in the water. There we go. There's 3. Now I'm going to turn the temperature up, and as soon as this starts boiling, I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. And as soon as the 15 minutes is up, turn it off, remove it from the heat, let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then take everything out. Make sure you place them on a towel on the counter, otherwise them sitting on a cold counter can bust the jar. Alright, now we've already got our liquids already boiling. We're going to pour that over and finish this one off. Voila. Again, just finger tight's all you need. And as soon as those get done, we'll pull them out of the water bath and set them on this towel right here and let them cool for about 12 hours. I'm going to cut the eye off, and I'm just going to let those sit in there for about 5 minutes, and then I'll pull them out and set them on the counter to to cool off for the next 12 hours. Once I get these out of here and put them on the counter, I'm gonna pour this water out and start over again with the okra. And like I said, I'll start off with just warm water in here and slowly work it up with the jar in here instead of placing them in here boiling. Also, another thing is, with this particular process, you don't have to do the water bath. All the water bath does is extend the preservation time of your food. If you're going to store it for a longer amount of time, these don't last long around here. One jar might last us a day or two, so we go through them pretty quick. So it's a process that's not needed, but I do like to do it just in case, for whatever reason, they end up sitting on the shelf for 6 months to a year, then they are ready to go for that. But like I said, there's enough vinegar, there's enough acidity in the jars, just how they sit, to seal themselves heat-wise when you pour the boiling water over them and they start to cool. Button will pop on these, even not doing a water bath on these. It will seal, but you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to do the water bath. I just like to do it because I think it also helps to get the vinegar inside the vegetables quicker by cooking them in the jar. We'll probably eat them all before next weekend. So there's really no need in us doing it. Like I said, I just do it just as a precautionary.
But it does make it more shelf stable.
It does.
So if you use your own discretion whenever it comes to that, you don't have to take our advice, on whatever you feel comfortable doing. That's what I would totally do.
Yeah, if you're gonna eat these in the next couple days, there's really no need to water bath them. If you're gonna sit them on the shelf and eat them 6 months from now, then I would water bath them.
Or if you're unsure,
yeah,
how long they might sit, then water bath them might be a really good idea.
Yeah.
So that's the whole recipe. We hope that was a helpful video for you, and we thank you for taking your time to spend some time with us. And as always, thank you so much for watching.